Is LSU about to play bully ball with USC? Will Campbell thinks so, and we're talking about it. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Mauck. Glad to have you aboard with us here. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free, available wherever you get great podcasts, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com, use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com. Okay, y'all, we got a ton to get to today. Brian Kelly updated Chris Hilton's injury situation and why Kyle Parker seems to have emerged in the pack. We visit with former national championship winning quarterback Matt Mauck, who gave his thoughts not only on Brian Kelly's team, but also on Garrett Nussmeier. You're going to love what he had to say about the LSU signal caller. But let's begin with comments Will Campbell made that made their rounds on the interwebs on Tuesday night. You probably saw the quote. If you haven't heard it, this was it. So just for context, when LSU does player interviews, whenever a player comes in, there's two different media hordes that they go to. There's the print media, and then there's the digital media, or the visual media. So you have the TV guys with their cameras, and then the print, who are basically just there with their notepads and maybe an audio recorder. So that's why you haven't seen video of this clip. But here's the clip about that Will Campbell said that caused Bear Alexander, the defensive lineman from USC, to react. Here it is. Played it on my radio show on Wednesday.
You know, we talk about it in the O-line room all the time. You know, just we got to come out ready to fight, and that's the end of it. I mean, as soon as we, get off that plane, it's a fight. No way around it. I mean, we know what we're there for. We're not there to go to Caesar's Palace. We're there to go get in a fist fight, and everybody in this building knows it, and that's just what it is.
Okay, that's just what it is. They're going to get in a fist fight. I love it. I love the fact that when you have a big physical offensive lineman talking about going to get in a fist fight, and when he's the best player at his position in college football, he can back it up. I love it. Okay. That's the quote everybody ran with because you had Will Campbell talking about getting in a fist fight. Fine. The quote from Will Campbell that I actually was more encouraged by is what he told the TV reporter. So there was video of this. Listen carefully to what Will Campbell told the reporters of what's coming Sunday night in Las Vegas.
We're going to run the ball, so, I mean, that's not something we're hiding or, trying to keep quiet. I'm telling everybody right now we are going to run the football, so you can take what you want with that. And, Caleb, Josh, Caden, all these guys, they're all big, powerful, fast guys, and I'm just excited for them.
Louder for the people in the back who might have missed it. We are not hiding. We are running the football. Y'all, we have spent, and I'm guilty of this. You've been watching this show, listening to this show, we have spent so much of this offseason talking about how do you replace Jaden Daniels? Is Garrett Nussmeier ready to take over the reins? Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, is Kyron Lacey, CJ Daniels, Chris Hilton, are they ready to go? What about this other bevy of receivers? What about Joe Sloan calling plays? We've talked about all that. We've talked about the defense. Blake Baker coming in. Can he do what he did at LSU that he did at Missouri, where he took a defense in the triple digits and bring it into the top 50, top 30 in year run? How are they going to use Harold Perkins? Is he moving off ball? All the storylines we've talked about. All the storylines we have talked about with this team. The one thing we haven't talked about or even considered is LSU just going to line up and try to run the hell over people? And they just might be doing that. And the context clues have been everywhere. Y'all remember the very first day of LSU fall camp? I do. I was there. Very first day of LSU fall camp. Tigers practice. We meet with Brian Kelly afterwards. You know what Brian Kelly told us about Josh Williams? We're talking about Josh Williams, John Emery. He said, hey, we're going to load up on John Emery because we need to test his knee. Josh Williams, the 6-year senior, we just need to get him to Saturday. We know what he can do. Basically saying we're going to give him a lighter load in fall camp to make sure he's healthy for football Saturdays. That was a context clue. Just last week, Brian Kelly was asked about the progress in his offense. I asked him the question. You know what he said? We're going to do what we do. We're going to run the ball, take our shots deep, and get the ball to athletes in space. What's the first thing he said? Run the ball. When you think about Brian Kelly's great teams at Notre Dame, the great offenses at Notre Dame, what did they do? They had NFL linemen, and they ran the ball. He never had great quarterback play. We can talk about Ian Book, but let's get real. Never had great quarterback play. He had awesome offensive lines, really good tight ends. They ran the ball through to their tight ends. That's what they did when Kelly was there. And that's what he's trying to do here. He didn't do it the first 2 years here because they had Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels was awesome. And they would have been stupid not to take advantage of all the awesome things Jaden Daniels did. But when you are atrocious on defense, and now the undeniable strength of your team is your offensive line, and you just watch Georgia Tech run the ball 30-some-odd times for almost 200 yards against Florida State and just control that ball game because everybody knew they were running the football and nobody could stop it. You don't think Brian Kelly looked at it and said, bingo, you know what to stop Lincoln Riley's offense? Yeah, like we talked about on yesterday's episode. Yeah, play great run defense. You know how else to do it? Don't let him have the ball. Play keep away. Love it. And sometimes, y'all, sometimes the best player on the team knows what the team has. Hey, hop in the Wayback Machine with me if you would. Crank that thing up to 88 miles an hour, get the flux capacitor going. I want to take you back to July of 2019. July of 2019, just before SEC football media days, a guy named Burrow was coming off a season at LSU where he finished pretty strong, won the Fiesta Bowl. He goes down to the Manning Passing Academy, and he made a prediction for the LSU offense.
I think we're going to score a lot of points, and I don't think a lot of people are used to LSU scoring 40, 50, 60 points a game, and I think we have that capability. I think if we do what we need to do up to fall camp and then continue our hard work in fall camp, we can be one of the best offenses in the country.
Forgive me, I think I screwed up, and I'm not sure that audio played. But you know, and that video is courtesy of WFB TV for those that are watching. You know what he said? He said, people aren't used to LSU scoring 40, 50, 60 points a game, but we're capable of being one of the best offenses in the country. And you know what people did? They laughed. They laughed because LSU had been a quarterback graveyard for a decade. And here's this kid telling you you're going to score 40, 50, 60 a game. And what happened? They weren't the best offense in the country. They were the best offense in college football history. The awesome player, the undeniable best player knew what they had internally, and he was right. And Will Campbell's telling you the exact same thing. You want to hear it again? This is what the best player on the team is telling you they have.
We're going to run the ball, so, I mean, that's not something we're hiding or, trying to keep quiet. I'm telling everybody right now we are going to run the football, so you can take what you want with that. And, Caleb, Josh, Caden, all these guys, they're all.
What? I don't even hear the rest. We're not hiding it. We're going to run the ball. Okay. You said it. Now go do it. Because if you can, the way you think you can, then you're going to walk out of Las Vegas with a win for the first time since Joe Burrow in 2019. All right, y'all, we got a lot to do today. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. We are going to get into what Matt Mauck, I had a chance to visit one-on-one with the former Tiger quarterback, what Matt Mauck had to say about Garrett Nussmeier and about Brian Kelly here beginning year 3. Matt Mauck was at the first LSU practice. We'll let you hear what he had to say coming up. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day. Love to tell you about our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Y'all, I could read some script, and trust me, they gave us a big, long script we can read, but I can tell you this much. That I've done 3 hours of daily talk radio since 2010. And somewhere along the way, I discovered 5 Hour Energy. And I'll tell you, for many, many years now, at about 2:55 p.m. Central, before I go on air at 3, I would crack open a 5 Hour Energy, take that shot, and that's what would give me the energy and the focus to get through a 3-hour radio show. Because trust me, it takes a lot of energy and focus to get through a 3-hour talk show, a solo talk show. And 5 Hour Energy helped me do it for years. So you can try it as well. Look, if you're trying to make it through a long day of football and you need the energy to stay up late watching all those football games through a tailgate and everything else going on, They can help you do that. Maybe you're at work and you need to get through the rest of your day. They can help you with that. Maybe right before a workout. There's so many great opportunities to use 5-Hour Energy with zero sugar, the convenient portable size. It's a perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done, and it works in seconds. I told you I'd take it at 2:55. My show started at 3, and I was already feeling great. And no jitters, no crash, none of that stuff, and it tastes really good. Find your flavor with dozens of different flavors. There's so many options. So go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the numeral 5, 5hourenergy.com. Get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code, which is Locked On CFB. That's Locked On CFB to get 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order. Cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good with the code is not good on subscription orders. So go to 5hourenergy.com today. That's 5hourenergy.com. Matt Mauck visited LSU fall camp. Day one, had the chance to visit with the former Tiger signal caller, and I do want to get into some of what he said. But real quick, I want to remind you about Locked On College Football. It's not too late to catch up before the season kicks off. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, you get it all from Locked On stable of college experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football podcast. Who has the chance to make the playoff, what teams will cause chaos in their new conferences, everything you need to know all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe the Locked On College Football podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, so I had a chance to visit on Wednesday with former LSU national championship quarterback Matt Mauck. And we visited about a lot of things. This was on my daily radio show. And if you want to hear the entire interview, you can. Podcast, YouTube, just search After Further Review, and you'll see the interview, the full interview there with Matt Mauck. But there's a couple things that I wanted you to hear right here on Locked on LSU. I started by asking Matt Mauck his impressions of Brian Kelly entering year 3. Mauck loves to come and visit LSU at least once a year. Still watches the Tigers, watches every game. He is purple and gold through and through, although he's living in the Denver area. As a dentist, you might remember Matt Mauck played for both the Titans and the Broncos during his NFL career. Left the NFL to go to med school and dental school and ultimately become a dentist. And that's where he's practiced out in the Denver area ever since and doing quite well at that. But still loves the purple and gold and still makes it a point to come visit. And he visited LSU on the first day of fall camp and gave his impressions of Brian Kelly's year 3 team.
I think Coach Kelly has done a tremendous job. I think some people forget kind of what he inherited. Wasn't great, and kind of had to rebuild and do a lot of things. I was there for their first practice, and I told him this. I was super impressed with how organized. I mean, very few false starts. There was, they looked like they'd been practicing for a month or so. And so the other thing I noticed right away was how much bigger they looked on defense. Last couple of years, try to watch almost every game, and it just seemed like we were overmatched defensively. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Some really good insights. Not overmatched defensively, but looking like it wasn't their first day. One of the things that resonated when I heard Matt Mauck say that, if we go back to around SEC media days, one of the things, and I understand y'all, I mean, I'm at all these media availabilities. I listen to Brian Kelly and the players talk all the time. I have the opportunity to listen to him, interview him. I have the chance to go to practices. So I consume a lot more, most likely, than you do. And that's okay. So you may not remember this, but one of the things that Brian Kelly said at media days and one of his talking points was, as he was asked pretty consistently about why his teams have success in year 3. Remember, his Central Michigan team in year 3 won the conference. At Cincinnati in year 3, they went undefeated. Notre Dame in year 3, they went undefeated, played Alabama for the national championship in 2012. Well, now he's at year 3 at LSU and those grand expectations. And he was kind of asked why. And the point he made was, by the time you get to year 3, he's established enough of a foundation of what his expectation is that now he can demand more of his players. All the baseline stuff, the foundation is set. Now we can ask for and demand more from everyone in that organization. And it kind of speaks to that there. What Matt Mauck said, going out there, it didn't look like a day one practice. It looked like they had been out there a while because the expectation has been laid by the veterans and you know what to expect. And so we can ask more of them. And that certainly goes for Garrett Nussmeier as well. We all know Nussmeier's story. 4th-year player, has waited his turn. And so I had a chance to go back and forth a little bit here with Matt Mauck about Garrett Nussmeier. And I started by asking him just his overall feelings on Nuss, getting to watch him there at that practice, and obviously getting to talk to him a bit after the practice as well.
I haven't been rooting for a player more than him in a long time. I've always loved every LSU quarterback that's there, but what he's done for LSU, he could have gone to any school he wanted to and transferred, but loved LSU, loved what LSU football is about, and stuck with it. So there hasn't been someone I've been rooting for more, and I hope LSU fans show him some love, and if things don't go perfect right away, that they understand he really hasn't played that many games, and he's gonna be all right.
Yeah, what's that like, Matt? That transition going from a guy. I mean, look, you got thrown into a tough situation. I think we've talked about plenty in 2001 in the SC championship game. Made the most of it,
yeah.
Obviously. And then started 2002, were injured, and came back in 2003 and won the championship. But what's that like for Garrett finally getting the reins after waiting that long?
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. You put in the work, you've done everything, you look good in practice, all that stuff. But football's hard. Sometimes, hell, you throw a perfect pass, hits the player's hands, and it goes for an interception. You did nothing wrong, but your stat line doesn't look great at the end of it. So, and for someone that hasn't played a ton, obviously he looked fantastic in the bowl game and the times he has been able to play. But when you're in charge of it all and you open up against a tough opponent, neutral site, you just never know how things are going to go. So I think he's going to have a great year. May take a few games before he kind of finds his footing and gets comfortable. But I think he's going to be a tremendous leader for us, and really hope that he has a ton of success.
Matt Mauck is with us. If you as a quarterback, would you rather, especially in this situation with Nuss, right, taking over for the first time, would you rather open with the marquee game like SC, given what you're saying, like it may take a few games to kind of get your feet, or would you rather that sort of like tune up before the big game?
My first ever start was at Virginia Tech, and they were ranked, I think, 12th or 13th at the time. I didn't realize it, but Blacksburg, it's loud. It is a different. So I think the neutral site will help a little bit, but I think when your first start is against an opponent that is a tough place to play, it makes it very difficult because everyone's trying to understand in a game what plays you're calling, doing checks, things like that. So I think USC being a good team is a little bit of a disadvantage, but I think at least it's not necessarily in a hostile.
Really good perspective from a Dr. Matt Mauck, DDS. Fun conversation there. We did talk a lot about 2003 as well. That staff. To ask him about Nick Saban's retirement. We talked about Jimbo, Kirby, Will Muschamp, Derek Dooley, even guys like Adam Gase, Freddie Kitchens, who were all support staff members. I mean, just incredible staff in 2003. Gave some great perspective. Again, if you want to hear the whole interview with Matt Mauck, you can get it. Just YouTube podcast, just search After Further Review. That's my daily radio show. But for that context, I loved what he said at the beginning there about Nuss, where he said he's I don't know if he's ever pulled for a guy more than he's pulling for Garrett Nussmeier. Speaks to it, man. When you're from a different era, we all know Matt Mauck's story. This guy that was from Indiana, who was a professional baseball player, had been recruited to Michigan State by Nick Saban. By that time, Saban was in Baton Rouge, and when the baseball career came to an end, Saban had a spot for him in Baton Rouge, and the rest, as they say, is history. And Matt Mauck etched his name in LSU lore, winning the 2003 national championship. Now standing alongside Warren Rabb, Matt Flynn, Joe Burrow as the only national championship quarterbacks in LSU history. We appreciate Matt Mauck for a couple of minutes. Okay. We're going to wrap up the show as Brian Kelly was on the SEC Coaches teleconference on Wednesday, gave an update on Chris Hilton. We'll let you hear it when we wrap up. Locked on LSU, your team every day. I've had the great pleasure to tell you about FanDuel for a while now, and we've talked a lot about it. America's #1 sports book. Well, we got something a little different for you right now. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you can watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account, current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Of course, there's a lot of LSU fans who cheer on the Bengals and now the Commanders with JD5 up there. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to download America's #1 sportsbook. Again, FanDuel.com/locked-on. Also brought to you by Factor Meals. They have a big, just like with 5 Hour Energy, they got a big, long script that they want me to read. But quite honestly, I don't even need to read it. I'll tell you the offer we have, but I'll tell you this. For many years, my wife would do meal prep for me on Sunday. She'd go to the grocery, she'd buy all the stuff, then she'd spend her entire Sunday cooking, and she's wonderful, and I love her for it. But she would spend her entire Sunday cooking and then packaging my meal so I could grab and go throughout the week. And I got to the point where I said, you know what? I'm going to give you your Sunday back. And so I started looking up meal plan services. And y'all, I have subscribed to 4 or 5 different meal plan services. And only recently, I would say within the last month, did I find Factor. And I will tell you unequivocally, without a doubt, the value, the quality and taste of the meals, the convenience, unmatched. And I have tried a lot of meal plans. And I only found Factor because the one I was on prior, they went out of business. And so I was looking for a new meal plan, found Factor before I started doing these reads on Locked On. And I will tell you unequivocally, I'm a customer. I'm a customer before I'm even an endorser here on Locked On. And I love it. And look, I'll give you an example. If you ever need to skip a week, you can. So I'm going to be in Las Vegas. The delivery day is usually on a Monday. Well, Monday is Labor Day. So delivery will be on Wednesday of Labor Day week. And so I skipped this week because I'm going to be gone Monday, and then I don't need food at the middle of the week. So I'll just pick up the following week. It's that easy. If you want it, look, you want great tasting meals that are restaurant quality, no shopping, no prepping, no cooking, no cleanup, none of that stuff. Effortless. You just grab it out of the refrigerator, pop it in the microwave, 2 minutes, boom, you got it. Tastes great. It's Factor. So go to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. This is an amazing deal. This is actually better than the deal I got whenever I signed up for Factor. Factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use the code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code lockedoncollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Okay, y'all, we're going to put a button here on the show with a little bit of a newsy update. Brian Kelly was on the SEC coaches teleconference on Wednesday. And just as a reminder, of course, Monday is the weekly press conference. Tuesday is player availability. Wednesday is the SEC coaches teleconference. Thursday, Brian Kelly meets with reporters after practice, then has his coaches radio show. And of course, no media availability Friday when the team typically travels or they're getting ready for a home game. And then Saturday they play. This week's a little different, obviously, because they play on Sunday. So Tigers will travel on Saturday, then come home on Sunday after the game with USC in Las Vegas. But the big question, of course, the only player that really is in jeopardy right now, seemingly playing Sunday, is receiver Chris Hilton, the senior. And Brian Kelly on the SEC coaches teleconference gave an update on Wednesday on Chris Hilton.
Yeah, he was moving around yesterday. We had a short, about an hour practice. He was running with our trainers, getting in and out of routes, kind of precision work. So we'll accelerate. Had a short.
Chris Hilton, who we learned on Monday, it was the only player questionable for LSU's game against SC. Here was the update on Wednesday.
Yeah, he was moving around yesterday. We had a short, about an hour practice. He was running with our trainers, getting in and out of routes, kind of precision work. So we'll accelerate that today to the next phase, which is he'll put the pads on and we'll see where he is. So he's in that progression where you take somebody that is questionable and you continue to work him through the week to see if he can move from questionable to probable.
My apologies for the bad edit there. That's on me. But the interesting thing there about Chris Hilton is, I really hope Chris Hilton can go, mostly because, listen, I think LSU offensively is going to be fine if he can't go. We've talked about it a ton. They've got great receivers. They got great receiving depth. They're going to try to run the ball. I think LSU's fine offensively if Chris Hilton can't be there. They're better with him than without him. But mostly, you think about a guy like Chris Hilton, who's a local guy from Zachary, who's now entering his 4th year, who's waited his turn, who's battled injuries. He's had 3 surgeries during his time already in Baton Rouge. And now you get this marquee non-conference opener, national TV standalone game Sunday night in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium against USC. And then, my goodness, Chris Hilton and the play he got injured on, we were there. The media was there when it happened. It was a 7-on-7 period. Nussmeier throws a pass to the front left corner of the end zone. Beautiful catch by Hilton to go through contact from Jordan Allen to make the catch, get down. I guess he just got tangled a bit whenever he came down and had the bone bruise. So really disappointed that it's happened that way, but hopefully Chris Hilton can get back. If not for this weekend, maybe for you wouldn't even necessarily need him against Nichols. You would think maybe the target then would be to get him ready to roll against South Carolina when you go to the other USC. Now, of course, Brian Kelly said that if Chris Hilton can't go, Kyle Parker is the one that kind of takes a step up, and gave an explanation on the SEC coaches teleconference why Kyle Parker has been that guy.
Much more consistent ball catcher, much more, for us, consistent on the perimeter in blocking, much more consistent in route running. So a guy you can trust now. When you're young, sometimes you just got to throw a guy out there because that's who's out there, and he might make some big plays for you as a freshman, but you got to live with the mistakes. I don't think we have to live with mistakes with a guy like Kyle Parker. He can go in now and operate at a high level for us.
What's so interesting, too, is I think back to the very first practice of fall camp. Not only the very first practice, but the very first period that the media got to see. Team started indoors, they came outdoors, and the very first team period we got to see, or the very first period we saw, was a team period. And the ones were going against ones in 7-on-7, and we got to see on consecutive plays, boom, boom, Garrett Nussmeier go right sideline to Shelton Sampson. And Sampson made 2 incredible catches. And on the second, when he came down hard, banged his head on the turf, and was dinged a little. They kept him out the rest of practice. He came back. But all that to say, Shelton Sampson has shown he is more than capable. He is tall and long and athletic, and he is everything that made him a 5-star wide receiver coming out of Catholic High in Baton Rouge. And the fact that Kyle Parker seems to have overtaken Sampson isn't necessarily a criticism on Sampson. It's more of a compliment to Kyle Parker and speaks to the depth and talent at the receiver position. Now, I've said pretty consistently, I don't even know how many reps there are to go around. When you've got Kyron Lacey and you've got CJ Daniels and then Hilton if he's available, and you've got Aaron Anderson and Xavion Thomas, and by the way, Mason Taylor and Kamorian Pimpton and Trey'Dez Green, there just aren't that many targets to go around, especially if you're planning on playing bully ball. But it would be interesting to see what Kyle Parker could do with the opportunity if he gets it. But really hoping Chris Hilton's ready to go. You'd love to see the senior get out there and make the most of the season opener. Y'all, we're just a couple of days away. Fired up for it. Thursday night, I'm wheels up to Las Vegas. We'll be coming to you Friday for Locked On LSU from Las Vegas. We're looking forward to that. Of course, we'll have shows all throughout our time in Las Vegas. So if you're new, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever we go live. Y'all, it's football season. We're here. LSU's playing a game Sunday against USC, the game we've waited years for. Does Brian Kelly in year 3 reach the pinnacle of year 3 that he has in other places? We're going to be here every single day throughout football season. If you're not subscribed, this is the time to make us your first listen every single day, and to tell a friend that if they love the Tigers, they got to be here as well. So thank you for making us your first listen. Now go check out Locked On College Football as well. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. The link to Locked On College Football is in the description, so you don't even need to search for it. We'll see you next time right here for Locked On LSU, your team every day.